Peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of the BBoy Collective Podcast and Vlog. We are excited to be back with you today. We got a nice little conversation planned with an underground king that's been doing this thing for over 20 years. So we want to shed some light on another one of the East Coast pioneers in the underground movement who's been around for quite some time and got started back in 1994 with doing his music and really kind of blew up the spot in 98, appearing on a couple of different outstanding projects by some legendary artists in their own right that introduced him and his partner. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Welcome to the pod. And I want to introduce today a brother that goes by the name of Wordsworth from the historical group Punching Words and EMC, along with Master Ace and some other dope MCs. So let's welcome my man Wordsworth to the show.
Peace. What's up, man? Thanks for the intro, man. I'm up here listening to it like, wow, like you really know, what's going on. I know you already know what's going on, but, to put it together succinct like that is dope, man.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. Listen, the whole thing that BBoy Collective is about is it's really about, the culture from a couple of different aspects. One is, of course, the music. The other thing is that it's about true school music. So I'm an old head. I've been, I grew up with hip hop, and that's what BBoy Collective is about grown men that grew up with hip hop and that appreciate the fashion, the style. And then we got products for grooming. But, everything goes back to the culture. We live by the culture. Everything is coming from that hip hop aesthetic. So we want to not only pay homage to the cats that laid the groundwork and that came up in the 80s and the 90s along with us, but also to the cats that's doing it right now, the true school MCs that's really got some lyrics, that's talking about something, that got that real boom bap aesthetic to the beats. So it's about making sure we know what's going on and educating the younger generation on where we came from and the fact that we still love hip hop and we still into hip hop. We just ain't your kids' hip hop. You know what I mean? We into hip hop from a different angle. And you represent that angle. One of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you today was because you represent that true school hip hop that I appreciate so much, especially, with the artists that you've collaborated with. You're a direct descendant in my eyes from that golden era of hip hop, that 86 to 93. And then you popped onto the scene. So I wanted to find out from you, just to get started, growing up as a kid in Brooklyn, what led you to getting into being an MC at the early age of 5?
Yeah, man, it really started with me just looking at my older sister Kim and my older cousin Elliot. So they're like 4 to 5 years older than me. So I'm just listening to whatever records they're listening to. So Run DMC. By Run DMC, we were buying the records, so that's what was dope about it. My sister would get in the records, I'll throw it on the turntable, and then I'm just listening to the record. So that's what really got me into it, kind of like just following in their shoes. And then as we got older, watching my cousin Elliot rap and battle people, and then my sister was more into the dancing aspect of it. So those were really like my first role models as far as how to get to music. Because you could be there in the house, but I didn't know nothing much about how to go. I can go to the store. So watching them be able to collect the items and then listen to it, that's how I really got involved with it.
Okay. So you were digging the music and you were following in your siblings' footsteps. So tell me about when you first picked up the pen and started to write.
Yeah, I started writing in 6th grade.
Wow.
Around 6th grade, yeah. I had this the spiral notebook with blue paper in it. I don't know why it was blue paper in it, but I had a spiral notebook with blue paper in it. And when I didn't realize that they were writing rhymes at that young age, because remember, when we were younger, we only saw the final product.
Right.
Right. And then we knew when we went outside, hip hop is something you could do anytime. Right. Like we could be walking down the block, somebody beatbox. Now we freestyle and somebody could bring cardboard out, dance. You know, DJ could come plug up outside. So I never knew there was the preparation behind it. So I just thought it was just freestyling. It wasn't until I saw a Crush Groove and then I realized like, and other things that I started seeing that people actually write rhymes. Right. So then by the time that was like 6th grade or so, then I'm up there like, oh, okay, you can actually write it. Other than that, I thought it had to be off the top being the best, which is why my freestyle skills were elevating because I was practicing to try to be the best off the top because I didn't know you write rhymes. Right. So, but nowadays, you see the behind the scenes of everything. Mm-hmm. Right? So back then, I don't recall any behind the scenes of seeing somebody in the studio when I was that young. I mean, it just wasn't like that, really, you know?
Yeah, cameras everywhere now. You didn't have that back in the day.
You didn't have none of it.
Really, all we had was, you know, the pause tapes that we was making off the radio,
right?
And the tapes that we was passing around. You know, I'm in Philly, so I'm getting tapes from New York, Cold Crush Brothers, and Grandmaster Flash and all of them. But I didn't know that stuff either.
Yeah, we didn't know. And then, you know, even when you see like Wild Style and stuff like that, they're freestyling, they're standing with a mic, they're doing their thing. But it's not, and it's rehearsed because you can see they were doing routines.
Right,
choreographed and everything. But the behind the scenes of how they got to that point, it wasn't told to me or explained until years later. So as a youngin', that's pretty much what it was with me, just writing everything down at like 6th grade. And it's when I kind of found out from watching movies and stuff.
Yeah, so clearly that focus that you had early on the freestyle off the top of the dome when you're walking around the neighborhood and trying to sharpen your sword like that ended up being a major part of your career.
Right, because I didn't know no better, you know? Right. So it's almost like, you know, when you have a kid that's in a household that speaks English and their parents speak another language, if you don't catch that kid young speaking other language, as they get older, they don't got the skill of the language. They might have a little bit of it, right? So all of us to an extent could probably freestyle a little bit, you know, but if it ain't something that's what you identify with totally, then you can't do it. So a lot of kids, when they're groomed within their parents of speaking to them constantly about that, when they get older, the language is second nature. So the freestyling became second nature to me off the basis of being in the community and, you know, banging on the elevator, going down freestyling, banging on the car hood, freestyling, going here, freestyling. So that's how it all became, oh, word, I got to be the best at that. And then later on, I learned about the writing.
Okay. Well, that's dope, man. I mean, to be starting at 6th grade, you know, this is something that's really inbred in you at this point. So this is almost your whole life you've been MC.
Yeah. I still have the book too up in New York. Okay. Yeah, I got the book. I got
that's a time capsule.
yeah. I got a lot of those rhymes and stuff like that. The first rhyme was called "I'm the Principal" because I was trying to be the leader of the new school.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm the principal. My rhymes are sounding no invincible. My rhymes are edible, incredible, invincible. You must hear me again. I'm the teacher, and you're just a friend. I make the rules and own the school. Like, you know, then I'm doing the cane flow, and I still say cool because I'm the principal. I remember that.
Yeah. That's all RAW right there.
Yeah, all that, right? Own the rules, yeah.
That's the cadence. Okay.
Yeah, man. So I remember all of that, and then I just kind of like as time went on, of course, the exposure I got helped me go, oh, okay, do this, learn that, so on.
Right. Perfecting your style. That's what's up. That's what's up. So with that being said, that kind of leads me to the next question. So you talked about Kane and that whole flow. Who were your biggest musical influences when you were coming through that period as you was growing up?
Yeah, you know, you had Kane, the whole Juice crew. So Ace, Craig G, Cool G Rap, KRS-One, Rakim. It was pretty much like back then. It's so wild because it was easy for me to kind of detect the bar of lyricism based on the other artists back then would probably even identify who was dope. Now it's not necessarily like that, like giving the props, right? Mm-hmm. So like even back then you could ask and people know even the rappers would know like Rakim is another level, you know. So I was able to start hearing other people compliment, and that's what my bar was. Oh, even back then you would hear people say Slick Rick is the best storyteller. The best street person is Cool G Rap. Like we knew. Now it's kind of like if you give somebody props, it's a terrible thing.
You can't give your peers their flowers while they still here. You got to wait till something happened to them, then you say they was dope.
Right. So back then we knew Rakim, we knew G Rap. So for me, it became G Rap. So G Rap is where I was like listening, and then I learned when you listen to G Rap will put a rhyme in the middle of every rhyme. He had an internal rhyme. So if he said rock in between his school and fool and then shock. So then I was listening like all his rhymes, like, yo, this guy is writing internal rhyme before he reaches the end. So I started writing like that. So it's just really the one thing that I think helped was just being able to visualize what they're saying in my head written, so I could kind of like figure out how to write better. So when I'm writing the rhymes and stuff like that, but it was definitely G Rap. And then, G Rap was my favorite until this day. Like G Rap's rhymes until this day are just like incredible. And then for those that are young, if you listen to Jay-Z do Encore, he'll say he bigs up G Rap. Everybody bigs up G Rap because they know that G Rap was a standard of lyricism. So that's kind of what molded me to make sure I was like, well, my quality control has to be that.
Yeah, I mean, when G Rap dropped Road to the Riches, I was a young boy myself, and that was just the bar at that point. Even with Rakim being out and with Kane doing Raw, it was just, G Rap was in his own lane. So he was talking that gangster stuff, but lyrically, it was just like, it wasn't comparable to anybody else who was doing what he was trying to do.
Yeah. When I was 5 years old, I realized there was a goal. At the end, I will win lots of pots of gold. Like, win lots, pots, gold. He didn't even get to the end yet, and he's already rhyming. I'm like, yo, this is insane.
And the sound with the lisp was just, everybody, we used to walk around school all day. I'm getting richer and richer because the cop got my picture. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where those rhymes stuck with you for, everybody. You had to learn those rhymes. Now it's so much about the music that you hear the beat and you don't even pay attention to what they say because they're not talking about nothing. Whereas back then you were writing the lyrics of the song almost like it was a beat itself.
Yeah, now it's more like because it's so easy and accessible. It's pretty much really anybody can do it. Like, anybody could do a verse, upload it, and the world can hear it, and it could take off or it don't take off. So it is a real anybody can do it. And then there's like subcategories now with the game. Like you'll have your drill music, and then you have your vibing. So then you got some songs that just loving it, got nothing to do with bars. It's just about a vibe. So the categories are expanding, which I think is going to be so many subcategories of hip hop as there are. There's tons of them now, but it's just going to keep expanding because hip hop is pretty much still young, right? We don't have the 70-year-old rapper necessarily that we really can identify with. They're probably the 70-year-old rapper, but not like out there on stage rapping yet. But there will be. It's like any other genre. So we don't have some of those things. So that lets you realize how young the culture is. But yeah, those are the things that influence me, and those are the things I still kind of say that's the standard of my product.
Okay, that's awesome, man. I know, we were talking a little bit before we started the show about 94 and getting your start and what really broke you open. For me, I used to run that Tribe album, that Love Movement joint that you was on. But for me, it was really that Black Star joint. The Twice in a Lifetime with you and Punch. How did that collaboration come about? I know that you got a bunch of Brooklyn cats on there, so I'm assuming it's a Brooklyn connection. But I want to let the fans know, how did that opportunity come about for you, and what was it like getting to do it with some other underground cats that was really bubbling at that point? Because I mean, Most and Talib, are extremely talented cats that have been doing it for a long time, and they're
Yeah.
going on to do amazing things. But that was a real hot collaboration.
Yeah, we were all in the same circles at that time. So, you know, going to New Eurekan Poets Cafe, you know, then going to, like, if it's the Muse, or going to the same studio. So we were all it was such a small kind of confined space in New York. It was like the Lower East Side of Manhattan had a lot of places you would go to and travel, whether it's studio or things like that. Offices were down there. So it was real confined where people would perform. Even the Lower East Side is where Washington Square Park is, where everybody would be in the park around there. Right. You know, so you know about that. Like, everybody would be at Washington Square Park freestyling there. So it was such that Lower East Side part, you could walk everywhere. So it was in Manhattan, you pretty much could walk everywhere because it's a number block. So it's like, yo, you're on 25th, yo, we on 10th, let's walk it. You know,
right.
So it's the same thing. So us being at all the same functions and then having a respect for each other just grew. And then it was like, yo, we got this joint, y'all want to be on that. And then we didn't really know the relationship between like Q-Tip and Mos and Kweli like that until me and Punch wound up doing Tramps at that time, and Q-Tip hosted. And then lo and behold, everybody knew each other. And that's how come you got us on the Tribe together.
Gotcha.
Because they were, most of them already knew Tip, but we came from a different angle. We knew most of them already, but Tip, then I don't think Tip knew exactly that we knew most of them yet, until he probably told them, like, yo, I met these kids, bunch of words. It's like, oh, and then it's like already a family formed there. So that's
full circle, because Q-Tip, a lot of people don't realize he was producing at that point.
Yeah,
so
he was producing.
He doing a lot of production with Ali Shaheed and doing production for other people.
Right. So they were already cool already. I believe like Mos and Tip already had a common bond already, because Mos and his brother DCQ, and I forgot the other lady's name. I think it was maybe the sister in that group. They had a group already.
Okay.
So being that, you know, typically if you came out with a group back then and you put something out, you meet other industry people and you probably kind of build a little relationship. It was kind of more like, then if you get a deal, you go to shows and this and that, you meet people like that. You don't really get to start meeting people on a star status until you actually get on a stage and start performing back then. You know, it was really different like that. So I try to explain that a lot, like going down to offices, getting meetings canceled on you, waiting for somebody to, you know, sign you and all that. Now you don't worry about nobody signing. You just put your stuff out.
Oh yeah, everything is direct to consumer at this point. You let the people decide.
That's it. So that's how that whole thing formed.
Yeah, but that just goes to show the camaraderie that was built during that time. Right. You know, that whole term backpacker, you know, go right back to walking from Washington Square Park or the Lower East Side, and everybody that was a part of that whole crew. So I'm assuming that's how the connection came to be with Lyricist Lounge and you know, the whole underground movement that was happening during that time frame with Raucous. How did those, because all of those players you talked about either appeared on you know, the stage when they were just doing it in the apartment, or moved when they went to the club and started doing it on a regular basis. Right. How did that evolve, especially with you becoming a writer on the television show that aired for 2 seasons? How did that whole Lyricist Lounge movement come to grow into what it was?
Yeah, it was really like my high school years when I started being on Lower East Side more, because I actually met Punch from another my other boy named Sono. Me and him were classmates, and he lived on the Lower East Side. And he said, "Yo, I'm trying to put together a rap group," and that's how I met Punch. So it was actually 3 of us. But my boy Sono wound up going to Atlanta for college and left me and Punch there. And then we went and did Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito together. And Bobbito is the one that said y'all should be a group.
Got you.
We went up to Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito with Red Hot Lover Tone from Trackmasters.
Right,
and Bobbito said y'all should be a group, and that's how you got Punch and Words. We actually were solo artists at that time. And then so going from there, now we're known from the radio and rapping. So then it's like, okay, where can we go? Go to Pyramid. Let's go to these places and rhyme and do shows. So then once we started doing shows, you start seeing flyers for the next show. So then now you're at a Lyricist Lounge event, and then going from the Lyricist Lounge events, you start getting notoriety there. So as time went on, the show came about when Lyricist Lounge got the deal with Rawkus. So once they got the deal with Rawkus, they were recording the album, and if you listen to the album, there's skits on there in between. So,
right. Sound Bombing 1 and 2.
Yeah, so during the Lyricist Lounge Volume 1 album, they were recording all the skits and having people come into Firehouse Studios at one time. So there's this picture out there where you'll see it's like maybe 25 of us sitting in one room.
Wow.
And all of us, me, Thurston, AL, I mean it's deep. So once you can't be in that room without rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, just
yeah.
So my boys, Wise Guy and Gaston, they're twins, and everywhere throughout New York, pretty much any open mic, they were always there with a radio. And a camera back then. They had camera, radio since back then. They probably got everybody's performances. They were that crazy with it, to the point they would split up sometimes to get at both events with cameras.
Right.
So
documenting the history.
Documenting it. So during that session, recording Lyricist Lounge Volume 1, started the freestyle, and I did a freestyle of, I'm like looking at the camera, I'm like, man, how can I make this something different outside the box than just me rhyming? So what I did is make a tutorial at home video teaching people how to rhyme. So I started acting like there was a board behind me, and I'm freestyling, and then all the artists in the room started asking me questions like, teacher, how do you do this? And I would answer them in rhyme. So that got caught on tape. That tape got labeled a professor. A guy by the name of Jacob Septimus comes to me one day. He's like, yo, come by my house, man. I want to talk to you about turning this into a TV show. I'm like,
all right. Okay. So he was one of the partners with Danny Castro and Anthony Marshall.
At that time, yeah, he was at that time. He was down. It was called, I believe, like Mike Media or something like that. And so I go to Jake's house. I'm young, you know what I mean? I'm like, what's that like? I'm like 22, something like that, 23 maybe. Wow. So I go there. He's like, yo, watch the tape. Yo, I think this could be a TV show. I'm up there like, yeah, all right, well, whatever, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, yo, that sounds dope.
Say so, right.
Yo, yeah, that sounds dope, man. So then, we talk, chop it up. I leave. He's like, I said, yo, last thing I said, yo, let me know when you think it could become a show. I leave. Next thing you know, he gets a pilot audition. So this is where the genius of Danny and Ant and all them come in. They said, okay, we got words. He's kind of like the in-between middle type of character from knowing him. Like, I'm midway. I could be hot, cold, or I keep a balance. I could go either way. Then it was like, we need power. So Power Malo, boy, Baby Power at the time. Baby Power at that time was in almost all the videos with an afro. So he's in the Roots video with the afro. So it was like, we need Power, because Power has personality. He was acting and doing everything else. Then they got Fool, Master Fool, who was electric. So they were geniuses to know everybody's temperature, put us together. We fly out Thursday, do the pilot. We do a demo in House of Blues in Hollywood, and Friday we do a court sketch. We do the court sketch. We get called back Monday. It's greenlit for a pilot, and that's it, man.
So the funny thing to me that I thought about, because I remember watching that. This was right after I got out of college, not too long after college. So I'm in that same age range. I'm working, but I'm watching this on MTV. Right. And you growing up with Living Color, and you got that kind of a show going on, and this is like hip hop and comedy mixed together.
Right.
And then I think about Wilding Out right now with the live studio audience, and y'all was kind of the precursor to that. Y'all really gave birth to that.
Yeah, definitely. I've met Nick Cannon before, like in passing and stuff like that, and he definitely knows where this evolution started. He figured out what's his twist on it, And I think that's with anything, right? Like, I gotta give it shout out to Claude Brooks and Def Jeff at that time when we did Lyricist Lounge. Def Jeff made all the beats. Like he knew about having, you can't just take a beat from anybody rhyme on it. He knew like I got to make a version that can get work.
License. Yeah.
Yeah, that we could use for the show. So he's making every beat from scratch. Once we get the ideas, my man Kenny Buford was assigned to us. So shout out to Kenny Buford. Kenny Buford actually used to write for Martin. He even wrote Martin jokes for some of his albums, and he did the Martin show. So he had a hip hop background already. So we got to, yeah. So those are the things you kind of need. So we were assigned Kenny, but Claude
came together around y'all.
Yeah, but Claude Brooks. Yeah, Claude Brooks, who had a show called Claude's Crib at one time. They put him assigned to us, and he's the one that said, we need Jeff, make the music. We need Kenny. You got to watch over these kids. Kind of, we were young kids. So he's like, yo, we got to get these kids together with how do we come up with this stuff? So we would come up with scenarios, and then Kenny would help write the narrative around the story, and we write the rhymes. So that's how a lot of that worked out with us. And then, yeah, man. And then Nick Cannon, of course, is watching that and then figuring out how can I take this to another level? And I believe he felt
twist on it.
Yeah, the live aspect is missing, or the game show aspect is missing. He took it to another level.
So the thing that kind of bugged me out too, when I went back and I was like, trying to find clips and whatnot before we were going to have this conversation, is that you don't even think about the fact that you got people like Tracy Ellis Ross that are on this show now, and you look at Blackish and being Diana Ross's daughter, and the fact that she could have went that way, and that she came out and was kind of introduced to the world on this program with all these MCs as one of the comedic actors with her own little thing going on. What was that like working with somebody who turns out to be of that caliber, with that background, that pedigree?
Yeah, even Heather McDonald. If you look up her, she became a writer and everything like that. The idea was to become like a Saturday Night Live, that everybody breaks off and becomes stars. That's always the idea. We put those casts together, but it's dope to see the evolution of what she's done, because when she was doing the Lounge Show, then Girlfriends went right after that. So like learning that when you're doing these shows, it taught me like when you're doing a show and you got other opportunities to kind of like start setting up other opportunities, because that opportunity can end anytime.
Right. So you got to be prepared for what you're going to transition to.
The transitioning. So she had her situation transitioning and flowing flawlessly. Mine's transitioned into more going back to the music, because that's what I was known for from the beginning. So it more transferred from doing the music aspect first, and I just kept doing the music, and that's how that worked. So it's dope to see her elevation and what she's doing and everything like that.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's amazing. So for me, after I kind of went back and looked at all this stuff, and I was like, man, it's been 20 years of solo projects and collaborations. I mean, you got like 5-6 albums under your belt, a couple EPs that you've done. And then you got to add in the fact that you've been on like, I don't know, 10, 15 different collaborations of note, not to mention the remixes that you've put out. Like the Odyssey joint is crazy. Just his beats that you did with that. Talk to me about of all the projects that you have out there. I know it's hard when somebody asks you this kind of a question, when it's kind of like being a parent, but what's your favorite project that you've been able to put out, that you've been involved with sort of as like a main person? Not necessarily a collabo that you did, but something that's one of your projects.
I would say the New Beginning album, which that's what I based this book off, with Words of Worth, the volume. Okay. Words of Worth.
The album cover, right?
Yeah, and it has the album cover, because that album, it's like the sound, the way it was mixed for me, and it's a short album, it's in and out, but that's some of my favorite songs on there, like Test the Time is on there and stuff like that. That's one of my favorite songs ever. Play that song to anybody. Like I tell people to play that to their parents, play it to a loved one. But Test the Time is one of my favorite songs. But that album, New Beginning, would be one of them. And then, of course, Mirror Music is the reason why I'm here still.
Right.
But I would say the latest album called Champion Sounds that me and Pearl Gates did. Because Gates is the generation, I would say, after below, after me. He's a generation after me. So he's more into the Drake stuff, and he knows how to write like that and sing and everything. So collaborating, it was dope to have a bridge. Like I'm the older dude, he's the younger dude, but we found a great balance on that album. And then Quincy Tones, he's from the UK. He got his own status of producing for people. He got a nice track record. So that's one of my favorite projects, also because the way it's mixed and how it sounds.
Right. So, I mean, it's definitely an updated sound for you, and you can tell that you've got that person that really in Pearl Gates that's got the hooks, that's got the hooks, that's got that melody, you know what I mean, but still bringing the lyrics, but it's got that melodic feel to it. And so I see where you're coming from. That it's funny because the next thing I was going to talk to you about is both of those projects. So Mirror Music, one of my favorite joints off of that is Guardian Angel.
Yeah, my man Kurt Dowdy did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I lost my son at 14 and my father 6 months later. So that record resonated with me, bro. Just talking about that whole vibe of feeling like you got somebody that you're connected to that's up there, that's watching over you. So that song really was dope to me when I went back and listened to that project. And then the new project, like you said, with Pearl Gates, and it's funny because you talked about G-Rap earlier, and that Champion Sounds joint with G-Rap is my favorite one off of that record. I mean, just you can't go wrong with G-Rap, and then y'all two together is fire, and the whole reggae rhythm that you got going with the record with my man that's doing the hook. I mean, that's just fire project, man. I love that record.
Thank you, man. Condolences for your losses, man. And man,
no doubt.
The song with getting G-Rap. So this is how life works. I meet Gates from my boy Range, the Messenger, which is out in Philly too. He's out in Philly. And I meet Range from Hezekiah. So Range.
And I was going to ask you about Hezekiah because he's been doing it for a minute, and I know he rock with Jazzy, and he's just he's crazy. His beats, and not just rhyming, but his beats is ridiculous.
Yeah, I got some songs here that I recorded with Hezekiah nobody's never heard. I got some things sitting here that me and him have been working on. But so I meet Range. Range introduces me to Gates. Okay. Gates goes back and forth to Philly, but he's from Washington Heights. Right. So we ended up at one point needing somebody to drive the tour with EMC. So my first time meeting Gates, after meeting one time, I was like, yo, man, what do you think about if you drive the tour and tour manage with us on the tour? He was like, yo, cool. Man, long story short, we drive all across Canada, back across the state. We do all that. So we bonding.
Right.
So Gates is that dude, man, as far as ambition. So he goes from that to within months later, he's on another tour. But then within months later becomes an A&R Penalty Records based on us having the EMC The Show album on there, and Ace alley-oops that. So then going from that, building that bond with Gates, Gates is putting out his own projects and this and that. He sings on other people's projects. He does hooks and everything. Other people, he does a hook on the G-Rap album. Boom. G-Rap owes him a favor. So I wound up getting blessed just off the basis of meeting Gates. It came full circle. So then when me and Gates do that project, I wound up, because the strength of knowing Gates, having my favorite rapper of all time being on the song with me. Yeah. So that's so crazy, man. That's so, it's a wild world how that worked out. But if I would have never met Gates, I probably would have never had a song with G-Rap.
But see, that's that karma, and that's the blessing of paying it forward. You get the Gates opportunity, and the next thing you know, now you're doing a record with G-Rap. So that's amazing how it works. Yeah, man. So that's one of my favorite songs to listen to. I listened to it, I think yesterday. It just came on randomly and stuff like that. But that's one of my favorite songs to hear G-Rap. I mean,
when we talk about how many years dude's been rhyming, that's what I'm saying. Like the quality of G-Rap rhyming is always fire. You know,
Right.
even when you do stuff with 38 Phresh and all of that, like, you know, it's
words out of my mouth. I was listening to 38 Phresh last month for my birthday. I was up in Clearwater and we riding around in the car, going to the beach, and I'm banging that 38 Phresh and Cool G-Rap. And then when I was listening to your project, I was like, oh man, G-Rap, yes. This my joint right here. And I listened to the whole project a couple times, and that was just the standout one that just resonated with me, you know?
Yeah, and that's what the album, that's why I love the album, because that will resonate with me and you in a certain way.
Right.
Then you got like just when you say like that song is big to my boy, he loves that song. Like you know, me rapping on there, my boy, he loves that. So there's so many songs on there that people love individually. People love Photograph. There's so many different things on there that are powerful. And, you know, I attribute that to meeting Gates to be able to say, yo, let's do this. I got somebody to do that. So his resources helped a lot of those get those hooks to keep it like that. And I think that's what helps me sustain, is the fact that I'm willing to listen to people and go, yo,
evolve, you know? Yeah, I mean, because talent speaks for itself. It's just a matter of, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone and continue to evolve in order to can move yourself in the progression?
Yeah, I look at it like, if I was Coke or Pepsi, I gotta be able to sustain my brand and keep to the integrity of what I'm doing. But also now and then you want to try different flavors. You know, you gotta make a cherry Coke here and there. You can't be afraid to try it and put it out there. And then if people like it, they keep it. But you gotta, whatever your brand is, it's all evolution. You know, there was an iPhone 1. You know what I'm saying? That, like, people don't even realize that. You know, I've said that to kids in class. I'm like, you know, there was an iPhone 1. It was like, really? They really don't think about that.
No idea. Right.
So you got to be.
I tell people, it used to be dinosaurs. Now they go. You know what I mean? But evolution is necessary.
Yeah, and the main reason why I try everything and do everything is because I'm not just a rapper. I'm a writer first. So in order for me to be in these other fields, like making songs for TV and making songs for movies and making songs for cartoons, I got to make sure my tool shed has every tool. So when I'm called, I just go and open the tool shed and say, okay, they need this type of ratchet with this on it. Let me go write it. So
versatility. You got to be able to use the right tool for the job.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's involved with it, mindset wise. See, my mindset is not a rapper. My mindset is a writer. So if I get called, I don't get called to do a boom bap song. I get called to do a song for a particular situation, and people know you can call me to do anything. Yo, I can do anything. If all I got to do is listen to it once or twice, and I pretty much could write any song or whatever the style is. So to give an example, there's songs you'll hear in movies and TV shows, and it's me rapping, but it won't be on my album.
Yeah, like that Dino 5 project with Prince Paul. Like, how did that whole thing come about? Because that's completely out the box. If you're just looking at you as a one-dimensional type of artist, you would never even think about that.
Yeah, well, me and Prince Paul have the same publishing administrator. So Michelle, when Prince Paul had the Dexter's Laboratory, let me start with that first. That was the first one. He did Dexter's Laboratory Hip Hop Experiment.
Right.
So he was like, yo, looking for a rapper. She called me. It made sense because we're both under the same publishing administrator. So if he's going to make money from it, we all making money from it, right? So he called me. I was like, yo, dope. So I go to his crib. First time, like, really meeting him off the basis of just kind of like, I really didn't never meet him. It was like, yo, get on the phone. Yo, come through. So I do Dexter's Laboratory, give me the beat, and I wrote Back to the Lab again. And it became like a huge hit for Dexter's Laboratory, to the point they got if you go on YouTube, it has a video for it. If kids are on the planes, all these kids that fly, when you go to the kids stations on the planes and the radio, Dexter's Lab, that Back to the Lab again plays there. So from that's how it evolved to the success of that. I forgot the guy that wanted to do the project, but the executive producer of the project that funded it, knew Prince Paul did that, and those songs we did together. So then Prince Paul drafted us as a team to work on that. And then after that, it went to SpongeBob and so on and so forth. So that's how all of that lined up. It's just but like I said, if I didn't know how to write cartoons, it's a different writing.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's being versatile, and that's why I talk to people all the time. Like, you know, my background is radio, television, and film. So I went to school for that. That's, you know, but I just consider myself a content creator.
Right.
You know? To me, it's not being pigeonholed. You know, I write, whether it be for blogs, websites, building stuff, or I do, you know, film production, or writing a script. So you got to be able to be versatile if you're going to monetize off your craft. And I'm assuming that's one of the keys to your longevity, because you've been doing this for a long time, brother. And you got so many different like spokes on the wheel that's all in your wheelhouse, but it's all different avenues.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think honestly, man, if I really have to think about it, me and you come from that era of, I think a lot of the artists from that era when we was coming up, at that point, remember, it wasn't even cool to be trying to think like that. Remember, we were separated. It was backpackers and commercial.
There you go.
Backpack dudes wouldn't even think about, like, I'm trying to write an R&B record and this and that, because it was kind of shunned upon, because we had that little war of remember, we was kind of like,
that was rapping BS. You couldn't be doing the shiny suit thing and still be considered a real MC.
Right. So I think a lot of people hurt their situation because they was shunning away the skills of absorbing it. So they were like, nah, I'm keeping it so real, that they kept it so real that at some point keeping it real becomes irrelevant.
Right. Because then it's short-lived. It's short-lived because you don't have a way to expand and to grow.
Right. So I just made sure as I've been doing it, I'm open to everything. So I'll listen to everything and just learn how to write it. I'm listening to that's how you do that, And that's what's helped me sustain, is just basis of I can get tapped in for anything.
Well, see, people don't really think about the fact that, like, Prince Paul gave birth to the whole skit idea, you know, with Daylight. And then, you know, then you look at a project like Handsome Boy Modeling Club, you know, where he's doing something else that's completely avant-garde and off the beaten path. And you find out that he's behind all these other projects that you have no idea that's Prince Paul.
The assassination.
So involved. I was like, yo, this is crazy, because you think of Backpack and that's all you think of.
Right.
And then you look at the breadth of what you've been able to accomplish and that you're still going. And it's extraordinary, man, that you're able to continue to reinvent yourself.
Thank you, man. So also, like, Prince Paul is on Netflix. He did the music behind the assassination of Malcolm X. That's series.
Yeah.
So like you know, he's always doing something here that's different outside the box. It's so crazy. I just spoke to Paul yesterday. It was his birthday. So we were on the phone building yesterday. So, you know, but yes. So me being able to talk to him about understanding that and meeting him and becoming a friend, I learned so many different perspectives, man. And that's been a blessing for me. So I've been around people with different perspectives of the game and been able to figure it out on my own of what matters. You know, I'm not around the old just backpack, boom bap. That's what it is. I don't want to hear nothing else person. I'm around everybody that gives me everything. And I go like, well, to sustain, to be an artist, if I'm an artist and I'm a writer, I need to know how to write everything, right? If you're writing films, you got people that write horror and then they write a comedy.
Right. You look at somebody like a Jordan Peele and you look at, you know, Key and Peele. I mean, you're going from doing a sketch comedy to now you're doing, you know, a horror movie, you're doing Get Out, or you're doing, you know, something brand new that's a whole different twist.
And nobody shuns on that. He's not shunned upon, right? So
correct.
We got to open up those blinders with that type of stuff and kind of understand, like, yo, there's so many avenues to being a writer, not a rapper.
And that's one of the things that, like, with the whole BBoy Collective and what we're doing here is that we want to shine light on the brothers that have come through that generation and what y'all are doing, because the foundation of what the young people are doing now are built upon that. You know, I laugh because my daughters, you know, hear like the Ariana Grande joint with 2 Chainz, and I'm like, that's just A. Marie song.
Right.
You know, like, hey, Marie, what are you talking about? I'm like, DC, go. Like, you know,
yeah.
But my father used to do that for me. He's from Macon, Georgia. He grew up with Otis Redding. So, you know, he would talk to me about, well, you know, every trip I go down south and all he's talking about is Lil Richard doing his mother's hair, or growing up with Otis Redding and James Brown coming through Macon. But connecting the dots between those samples. And all my homies in Philly that was DJing and producing, that was digging in the crates and coming with those samples and how they were creating the music. And it's like everything comes from something. And if you're not willing to be open to take in influences from everywhere, you can't evolve and create what you're doing. You can't. You're limiting yourself and being in that one lane. So like I look the same thing you're doing. I look at what like the RZA's doing, who came up in that same era, and you look at what he did with the Woo, and you're like, oh, that's just grimy, that's just hood. And then you look up, and my man's producing crazy soundtracks,
right? You know? Scoring movies, scoring Kill Bill and stuff,
and now directing movies,
right?
You know, and putting out projects that way. So evolution is so vital, man, and that's why I'm saying what you're doing and the way you connecting with people. These are all people that I want to talk to and want to pick their brain and get in touch with and try to continue to grow what we're doing with the brand and really shine light on these people, because a lot of people don't even think about Prince Paul being around doing anything anymore. They think about De La, and they don't even look at the fact that, you know, Prince grave diggers, you know what I mean? Just the fact they got a new record out. People don't know that. So I'm trying to connect the dots between the cats that's really doing what they're doing now, like Apollo Brown, and the fact that you work with him and what he's doing, and you know what Ace is doing, and like what have you seen in regards to what's appreciated overseas in Europe or in Canada, in that evolution of the music versus what you see here in the States? Because when I talk to Ace and when I look at a lot of cats that are from that true school era, it seems like it's almost like blues or jazz music was over the last 20 years, that real hip hop is more appreciated overseas and in Canada than it necessarily is here in the States.
Yeah, I would agree, because I remember us being in France. We in the tour van, and we're driving on the radio. Now, Big Pimpin' comes on, and after Big Pimpin' comes on, another underground record, an underground hip hop record. So they don't have a limit to what's played. Like here, you go to a certain station for what you want to hear, right? So even my wife is driving yesterday, and what's on the radio is she's like, LL has a station. So we go to LL to hear this particular sound. Drake has a station. You go there to hear what he likes. Instead of the melting pot is what's killing us.
Right.
Because over there at that time, from what I know now, it's changed though. A lot of areas have changed, because what occurred was the concerts, these big concerts that was 30,000, 40,000 at one point, had underground artists. So you can have an EMC on stage and Sean Price together at like a 30,000 concert. Wow. What occurred is, now that commercial music started getting more popular and the commercial artists started traveling overseas more, and they're able to do bigger things, the sponsors started dwindling down from having underground artists on the big bills.
Right. So they're not opening no more.
Yeah. So now a lot of those big concerts that you would have underground artists on, you may get one underground artist on there. And now those countries have evolved so much, a lot of them take the spots because they're local and built it up in their own country. Right. So you now it's like, yes, you're going over there and you're getting love, but it's not such an influx of as many of us as it used to be, because they were over there like, man, these guys are coming over here doing these concerts with 30,000. We live here. Let's do our own joints.
Our own shows.
Yeah. I remember being in, I think it's, I want to say Yugoslavia. I was one of these countries. Remember what? And it was basically like that country, that crew that ran that crew. I can't remember which country it is. They rolled up with the Ferraris and Beamers backstage deep. Right. And they got on stage performing for their country. But they came through with that, that's all part of us with that inspiration of
influence. They had their own swag, and now they're the local superstars.
Now they got their own like Wu-Tang popping up, driving through, and they parked up, and then they got on stage rocking, doing that, and then they left in their cars. They had all the girls that they drove up with. I mean, it looked like a music video when they rolled up. But it was wild to see. But you see that they're like, we're here, let's do what they do, but let's take over. So it does occur still. There's shows over there and things like that, but it has dwindled down a little bit just off the basis of how money moves everything. So if the same concert that we would have done, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, now you won't get booked for it because they'll book a Rick Ross based off of sponsors and filling it up.
Gotcha. Okay. So that kind of transitions me to the close here. Things have changed over the last several years, and I know with everything that's been going on over the last 18 months with the pandemic, hitting that anniversary that we had, and things kind of shutting down. It's good to see that we're kind of turning the corner, but I know we still got a ways to go. Right. What have you been up to musically during that period? Because I mean, when your last joint dropped, that was pre-COVID.
Right.
And now everybody's kind of been in this gestational phase where we're all, working on stuff. That's when I was able to give birth to this outlet that I have right now.
Right.
So what have you been doing musically since the whole Pearl Gates project was released, and what you got coming on the horizon for us?
Well, I remember when it hit and we realized we weren't going back to work and stuff like that. I was like, I just want to come out of it better. So what I did was I said, man, what haven't I done that I can accomplish now? And it was the time. So then I wrote the book. So I wrote the book, What Words Are Worth, Volume 1, during COVID. And that was my first book, and I was excited. I was like, man, I wrote a book. I got it out. It did well. It was in the top 10 releases, new releases on Amazon and poetry. So I was like, man, thanks, man. So it was staying up. It was going like, it was in there, and it would go down and it would come up, and I would like document it on my Instagram and stuff, like showing people, yo, it's number 11, and then it's 9, yo, it's 15, then all of a sudden it's back up. So that was exciting for me to see that the support came out, and then like on my page, everybody that bought the book would take a picture with it, and it became its own big deal. So if you go on my Instagram, Wordsworth BKLYN, and you scroll down, man, it's like so many pictures of people showing me they got the book with their own way that they taking a picture, man. It like became its own movement. So that was one thing then. And then I've been working on music with Kells with the Heat, which is, he's super dope from the UK. So I got a project with him. Then me and Gates started working on the second project as well, the second Champion Sounds. We started that. And then, like I said, Hezekiah, me and him catch up here and there, but I got songs sitting here that eventually that'll be done. But one other big thing that did get done, me and Superstition did an album together. So big up to my boy Superstition. We got an album together. So that's sitting there too in the rafters, just kind of waiting there. And so, that's really it. Like right here, my mic is right here, and my setup is right here. And so I was recording yesterday. I actually started sending the songs off to get mixed yesterday. So I sent 5 of them off to get mixed. So shout out to Jordan River Recordings. They're working on mixing that. And then that's what I've been doing, man. But that's really it, trying to evolve. And then I started the second book as well.
Yeah, okay. So we got at least 4 or 5 musical projects to look forward to coming down the pike here, and another book.
Yeah, another book. And I got another book already done with me and 2 of my other people. And then I got a musical written too.
Okay, yeah, because Ace told me he was working on a musical as well. So that's dope.
Yep, Ace got a musical too as well. I wrote one of the songs on it too, like one of the songs for it. So hopefully that stays and fits in there. I wrote a song for that musical. And then I got my own musical, man. And I actually have, like, I got it in my phone. I got about half of it recorded because I did the demos and my wife did the demos. So when it's audition time, I can give snippets out. So
Okay.
I think the musical though, this is 2021. I think probably not till like 2023, 24.
Because you want to do this live in theaters in front of people, like on some Hamilton type stuff, not the whole let me release it streaming.
Nah, I've already went around the city and went to every theater to get prices and everything. I've already done a lot of that. I go to the open mics that I was telling you about down here that we got, and I actually go there and I got a book that I got people's names and numbers. If I see somebody talented on stage, I approach them. So when it's time, I'm not behind, like trying to, we need to find people to come through. So I already started recruiting people, just kind of keeping names and tabs on some people. Okay. And yeah, man, I'm just trying to keep going because I look at it as I'm older. You know, I want to be doing these shows and stuff, but like really, it's about like the books. You know what I'm saying? So it's about books and me getting called up to open a store, not rapping, but maybe a poem.
Right.
Me and you on the same panel at FGCU.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like stuff.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff we need.
As you elevating, you want to be able to be at a different level and have other projects that are making money for you without you having to be grinding out in the streets. You grinding behind your desk, getting paper, but also making an impact and helping, and you're pulling other people up too.
Yeah, and man, everybody that knows me, if you were to speak to them, I told everybody I know to write a book, man. I just tell everybody, because we all want to write a book, but I think there's still apprehension on the basis of what am I going to write about? How do I write it? And everybody that's a friend of mine or whoever I meet, if you contact me and you're not sure, I'll even help you go through the process, man. I just feel like we need to do that because we need to leave these matchbooks around so the next spark can happen.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. My wife wrote a book a little over a year ago called Let Your Light Shine. That's a 30-day journal, basically, that helps you get through the next 30 days and come out changed on the other side of this so that you can pursue your passion and do what it is that your God-given purpose is, what you're called to do.
Right.
And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. I tell everybody, that's one of the ways to not only leave a legacy behind for others, but like you said, you should be lighting that other person's candle, that spark to that next person if you're gonna, light up the world and make a difference. So that's a great message to end with, is that if you're gonna make an impact, you gotta spark somebody else's journey so that they can do what they need to do, because somebody else is waiting on you to do what you need to do so that they can do what they need to do.
Yo, that's real. That's real. That's very real. Somebody is waiting on you. That's a phenomenal way to put it in some way. Like somebody's waiting on you to do something that when they see it, hear it, play it, whatever it is, watch it. If it's a painting, stare at it, whatever they need to do to interpret it to light their flame. So that's very powerful. Somebody's waiting on you, man. That should be a book. That title right there.
There you go. There you go. We're gonna make it happen, because we ain't got nothing but time right now. God willing, we got nothing but time, and everybody is in this period where they're trying to come out of this on the other side. So use some of that stimulus money that everybody getting to get that book put out.
Right, man. So I love it. I love it.
That's what's up. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time to participate and to give us some words of wisdom today and tell us your story. Is Wordsworth, brother, has been doing his thing for quite some time. Check out his website, wordsworth.com. Make sure you follow him on social media, on IG, Wordsworth, BKLYN, and support his book. You know what I mean? Go out, grab the book, take a picture, tag him, make sure you're sharing that information. Poetry and MCing, go hand in hand. They one and the same. I come from that whole era of Philly music, of soul music and hip hop, where you couldn't separate the poets from the MCs because they was all in the same circles. And I know it was the same way during your time frame in 94 to 90 to really 2000, man.
Hey, man, you know, too raw for the streets. You know, I got that as a digital file. I got the too raw for the street as a digital file on one of my hard drives because I used to watch that dudes in Philly, Monster, you know, all those dudes that was rhyming on it.
Frost, my Freeway when he was coming up. You know, they had a too raw for the streets they did when I was living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. My man came up from Philly and we rocked with him because I was managing artists at the time. And he did a too raw for the streets, Philly versus Harrisburg. And that was tight. That was a dope battle that they had up in Harrisburg. So too raw for the streets is just one of the things where it's a time capsule of a period that you'll never see again. That just went to show how grimy it was. You had PD Crack. You had a lot of cats that was coming out during that time before they got signed to Rockefeller that was doing their thing.
And the bars are still fire. Like they're like timeless. All those dudes that rhymed on there, those bars, like, you know, the Joey Jihads on those things. I mean, those rhymes are like to this day, if you say it, it's still fire, man. So that's like when you said a time capsule is super relevant because of that. Because, you know, we don't see ciphers like that. There's no ciphers really popping like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a program. It's like, yo, I'm having a cipher down here. It brings 5 of y'all. We're gonna record it.
Right.
Back then it was like run up on the camera.
Yeah, because it was already happening. Because it was already happening on the corner. Whether you was in the Badlands, whether you was in North Philly, Fern Rock, West Philly, didn't matter where you was at, you'd be in Germantown and just roll up on Germantown and Shelton, and somebody was on the corner, they was getting it in.
Man, crazy. So that inspired me heavily too when I was younger, man. Those bars, just hearing that. So I wanted to make sure I say that for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's everything we do here, man, is all about the culture, and that was a huge piece of it for me when I was coming up. So I appreciate you bringing that up, man. This has been a delight just to have this conversation, and I'm sure we're going to continue to collaborate, man. I do on the flip side, you know, BBco was birthed out of the company we have called the Hustle Agency, and we do branding. We're a branding and digital consultancy. So, you know, for all these people that's out there that's trying to build their brands and trying to do their business, that's something that we are here to help people do, is bring your dreams to life. We help the small businesses bring their dream to life. So we build big brands for small businesses. So I'm sure we're going to link up and try to do some business together and continue to shine light on all these dope MCs that are out there that have been doing it for a long time. So I'm going to stay in touch with you, and we're going to continue to support all your projects, man.
I just want to say one thing. Make sure if you got anybody that got Netflix, you can check out Peabody and Sherman right now. Season 1, episode 2. You're gonna see me and Prince Paul on there as cartoons. So you can check that out. Yeah, man. So check that out. And also that Gulf Coast Leisure event at Sydney and Bern. It's a dope spot for you, especially because within that venue, because of the whole museum, you know how big it is in there. They have vending tables that go around, and in between the interludes is when each table introduces that stuff. So the community would love to hear what you got going on, man. So
that's what's up. So Southwest Florida, make sure if you're in the area where we're at, you come out and support GLC and what they got going on, and come down to Sydney and Bern for the open mics to the museum. You might catch Wordsworth dropping some lyrics on you. He comes by frequently, a couple times, you know, a few times a year. So you never know when you might catch him and get to see a legend doing his thing. So we appreciate you, brother. And you've been listening to the BBoy Collective Podcast, episode 2, with the legendary Wordsworth. And we will see you next week. Peace.